Hi, how are you? Let's start with what's happening. Are we going to go record volume? Well, I hope so. Welcome. Let's get to the information about what's happening in the world. A global escalation. Are there already more countries involved? Iran has launched an attack on 11 countries. What are the reactions of these 11 countries? What's happening in the world? Besides, there are attacks on French interests, apart from the 11 countries, France and other European countries. What is France going to do? What is the United Kingdom going to do? Let's get into the details as they come in. We're live, we're broadcasting. I appreciate it if you give us a like, share, and help us out. On this international news channel, we bring you what's happening around the world. Thank you for being part of this family, this community that keeps growing and growing in different parts of the world. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get to the news. I think we have to start with one of the images that could possibly bring a huge twist. It's this image, these images, these of the oil tankers that were attacked today. Let's pay close attention to this information because this could also change what's happening in other ways. First, let's start with this image. What is known about this oil tanker? What has been said? How have things been going? Iranian forces are said to have attacked an oil tanker, by the way, from their own fleet, according to reports. An oil tanker from the same Iranian fleet. Apparently by accident they would have fired. The ship was passing through an area that, according to them, is considered an illegal passage. A skylight was carrying 20 crew members on board, 15 from India and 5 Iranians. All were evacuated and 4 were injured during the incident. The oil tanker is called Skylight and is subject to United States sanctions. The authorities of that country claim that the vessel is part of Iran's shadow fleet. And now the same Iranians are the ones who allegedly carried out this attack, apparently by mistake. No, but it's chaos. This is chaos in Iran, it's chaos in Iraq, things are also happening in other countries in the Middle East, things are getting strange. And this, at least on day 2, seems to point to something more extensive, something with the potential to escalate to other levels. And the thing is, look, even though there are a lot of Iranians who are against the Ayatollah's regime, they also have their followers. We have to remember that they have several military groups, including the Revolutionary Guard, the Formal Army, the Basij, and other groups as well. The Basij, for example, it's estimated there are millions of them, and they're all registered. They get scholarships to universities and similar opportunities, so everyone signs up, even if many aren't truly involved. But, he concludes, a percentage, and with the population that Iran has, well, yes, it can be quite a lot, right? And right now, what's concerning is this kind of, well, images. Let's see if they ask him there, is this real? They ask the intelligence services. Obviously, well, because of what it could mean, right? This kind of, we could say these kinds of places where it's shown. Let's see if we can put it up there. There it is there, where it's shown. How well he also has support from the Ayatollahs. They will definitely report it. This, already confirmed by the way, is happening right now in the capital. There, the population that does support Ali Khamenei is already celebrating, according to various sources, even some that were already being reported. And confirming that not only is it not AI, but it is indeed a report showing the support that Ali Khamenei has. In a certain sector of the population, it is estimated that about 20% of the population could be in favor of that regime, which is 1/5. It's not the majority at all, but there could be a risk. Let's listen to them right now. Obviously, this has to be part of the calculations that would have been presented to Donald Trump. In what sense? Well, to begin with, in the idea that they would have told him, supposedly, right? Wouldn't they have told him that there was a possibility that this could be extended, right? I mean, that this was one of the possibilities they would have warned Donald Trump about, right? Here, a little in the bigger picture, right? Also, in a moment, we'll see the area where they're going to mourn what's happening. They've already put up this black flag that they usually put up when they want to take revenge, that kind of thing, right? You already know what the narrative of these kinds of groups is, right? Be cautious with that issue. There are likely some calculations happening. Just as there are plenty of people celebrating, there are also people acting this way. Now, this type of shaheds is being seen in different parts of the Middle East, in countries of the Middle East. I'll give you the list right now of which are the 11 countries that have already been attacked by Iranian forces. On this occasion, this is a shahed that was reportedly shot down thanks to Kuwait's defense systems. An Iranian unmanned aircraft, a shahed type, was intercepted over Kuwait. This is the moment when this unmanned aircraft, I insist, collapses and falls near the people who were recording this. Let's watch the moment it falls. Listen to the moment it falls.
Unmanned aircraft, I insist, collapses, falls. Let's see.
Well, that's also part of what's happening in that part of the world. That's in Kuwait, but what's happening in other areas, for example, in Iraq. In Iraq, which, by the way, is one of the countries being attacked. I mean, Iran has launched attacks toward Iraq, even though there are also pro-Iranian movements within Iraq. Yes, so let's see what's happening, because there's a group, a pro-Iranian movement that's creating chaos within Iraq, its neighboring country. Because normally there's still confusion between Iran and Iraq. The war problem is with Iran, Iraq is its neighbor, and well, Iran is also having problems. Because we have to remember that there's a green zone. The green zone is where the United States Embassy is located. And what happened with the people who are pro-Iranian? Well, they went to the green zone where the United States Embassy is. Well, to protest, but also some of them did it very intensely. Let's say this turned into chaos, because besides, this is right in the capital of Iraq. Let's watch this moment. There are shots from everyone. Let's listen.
No, there are shots from everyone. No, there are not shots from everyone.
All right. There you can see someone firing into the air, right? But also fireworks and things like that. But yes, this situation is getting a bit chaotic. Chaos is being reported in Baghdad this morning as pro-Iranian regime protesters tried to enter the green zone where the United States Embassy is located. These groups have not managed to enter the zone, but obviously that's a risk that has been present. By the way, there are different versions about how this person, Lee Khamenei, died. One version is the one Israel says, that with information from the CIA, it was confirmed that this individual was at his house. He wasn't in a bunker, he was at his house, and that's where they fired, right? Another report states, this is the house. If it's the map, him, and him, afterwards. He was literally at his house, not underground as was previously thought. He felt so sure there wouldn't be an attack. At least that's what he must have thought. Iranian intelligence thought nothing would happen, and so that area was attacked. That's why there were family members, that's why there were people close to him. According to another version, it is claimed that a member of Mossad was living and spending time with Ali, meaning there was an infiltrator in his closest circle, or... According to reports, this person, who, by the way, obviously survived because he knew when the attack was going to happen, is the one who returns to the house of Ali Khamenei. He takes the photo and sends it to Netanyahu, and obviously Netanyahu sends it to Trump, and this image circulates. Those are the two versions that exist, the most, let's say, reliable, but it's not exactly clear if both versions are true, because it could also be that the CIA confirmed this, and that's why Israel attacked afterwards. Or the version that only someone from Mossad was already in the inner circle and gave the warning, and that's why this person could be recorded and photographed. Some images have been circulating, and there are some that might be real. There's one in particular, obviously we can't see it, but there is a suspicious image that really does seem to be the real one. And the rest, well, they're just ideas and things like that, right? But there it is, that would be the place, right? According to what is known, for decades this person was hiding. He was in different places, and there were several attacks in the past trying to get to him, but they didn't succeed. because it was said that he was always in different places, that he would go to bunkers, and this time, well, he was very confident at home. Let's move on to other important matters about what's happening in that region of the world. While all this is happening, a flag is being raised, a flag that should be watched carefully, because that flag is usually, well, a warning, not a warning of revenge, but a warning of a possible attack. After the death of the supreme leader, Khamenei, the flag is at the top of the Lehman sanctuary in Reza, which was replaced by the flag of mourning and vengeance. That has been placed in that location, in that sanctuary, right? That's part, let's say, of what's being experienced right now. This is the moment when you go to the place, the person there. Well, it may look like the person handing it over there is smiling, but if you listen, well, they're actually sobbing. Let's listen. Let's listen.
No, 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 no.
Well, it seems that they were, well, people close, obviously, to this so-called supreme leader. That's where it will begin, those 40 days that are usually observed for these figures, 40 days of mourning. According to reports, the flag is at the Lyman Reza sanctuary, which turns black to mourn the death of Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, right? That's also part of the images. Another image that has become important in this whole movement is this moment. Look at that place, that room. By the way, if you look closely, there's someone trying to kick the door, not knock it down. There are the Basset, one of the Basset bases. There's the people who are extremely upset, very angry. That's an Iranian guy, a young Iranian who's talking a bit about the topic, where he warns that this place is the base, one of the bases of the Basset. Who are the Basset? It's a military force within those that Iran has, and this is the one that's been in charge of firing. The young people protesting for that reason want them out, but don't want to remove them themselves. The people who are protesting now are celebrating and saying, hey, get out of that moment. But be careful, they've been attacking the Basij bases. What? Right now, all the buildings where the repressive groups of Iran are being attacked, that's it. I mean, all these kinds of groups are being attacked with maximum force. Many reports already exist about locations of Basit and similar groups. Obviously, it's also very dangerous for the civilians in the area because they could be caught in the crossfire. But this well is also part of what's happening. Another matter, another one of the images. Do you remember this image we talked about yesterday, right? The image of this Iranian woman smoking and burning? The image of this figure, Ali Khamenei, became an icon. She became an icon of the protests. It wasn't clear to me, it wasn't clear to us, honestly, whether she was alive or not. According to what has been reported, according to what they've explained and commented, she appears again. Here it is. I'm going to pause the image here. Let's play the video. And, well, this image appears where she's shown, well, celebrating, right? According to the reports, the young woman from the famous image where she burns the cigarette. Well, she appears again at the celebration, now celebrating, where, by the way, she said, I said we would celebrate in Tutu Zumba. By the way, in the background, they have the posters with words, right? With the so-called air, right? So, well, that's also part of what has been reported in these images, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, she wouldn't be in Iran, I believe, as far as I know. She wouldn't be living there. I think in Europe or in Canada. But, well, it's an image that became famous at the time. Not Iranian, as I understand she's Iranian, but already living outside of Iran, right? But it's been the only one outside Iran. That's also true, and it was always believed that it was a protest by someone who was inside Iran. So, well, who knows, right? That's a part that obviously there are protests outside Iran and inside Iran. So, well, be careful with that topic. She appears there. It seems she's outside Iran. We'll see if that's confirmed later, but what's important is that, well, this figure appears. By the way, the president, this individual, the president of the parliament there in Iran, Mohammad Bagher Ghalaf Vibaf, had been calling the leaders of the United States filthy criminals, he said. He says they will face devastating blows, and, well, it's part of the messages they've also been sending, very similar to what the Iranian president himself, Masoud Pezeshkian, has been saying. Well, it turns out that Masoud Pezeshkian, not the supreme leader, has been or has already appeared there. Amid all this, there are several movements within the Middle East that draw attention. First, let me tell you about a character who might be the strangest of all. Do you remember him? I think several of you here will remember who he is. Thank you. This character's name is Ismail Khani. Several times the death of this individual has been confirmed, even confirmed by Israel itself, where they've said Ismail Khani, well, he's already dead, right? They've said that several times. Has this individual escaped from them, or is it something else? We'll talk in a moment about what is believed to be happening there. But at least what's drawing attention right now is that this commander, who by the way would be the commander of the force, Quds, which are like the special forces of the Revolutionary Guard, you could say the Quds is like the most elite force. No, the ones who are better prepared, the ones who usually also carry out attacks abroad. They were told that if he was eliminated in Lebanon, as they once said, nothing happened. And several attacks like that have happened to him. And if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 times they've declared him dead. Yes, but, well, he survives again. And, by the way, he was in the middle of an attack, but he survived again. Within Iran, the idea has been circulating for some time that this person might be an agent for Israel or for the United States or for someone else, because he always survives in the most critical moments. This person, Libra, right? Somehow, he has survived different conflicts, different moments, even attacks against him, because all the figures have been meeting each other. It's the boss who, by the way, lost his life. The head of the revolutionary force was eliminated, along with other high-ranking officials, and we're also going to talk about the list of 40 leaders within Iran who have already been confirmed as eliminated. We'll talk about that list in a moment, which is also extensive, right? But another image that stands out is what's happening, what's going on inside Qatar. Let's look at this image. Let's play it, shall we?
The seawater is completely still.
A dense column over Doha in Qatar. This area experienced a series of bombings by Iran against a target that is not clear. Whether it was intended to hit a specific area, if it was a mistake, or what exactly happened, that's also not very clear, but that attack did occur. Let's discuss the recent message and the Middle Eastern countries under attack, as this issue is increasingly global. But I would like to show you Pahlavi's message because it has been updated. And right now there's a message from this so-called heir, the son of the Shah, who sends a rather lengthy message. Let's try to summarize it a bit and then we'll get back to other topics. Let's go with that.
And your bravery will soon be consigned to the dustbin of history. Is the great nation of Iran heading for complete collapse?
According to the message that was reported, says Reza Pahlavi on his official accounts, he declares the imminent end of the Islamic Republic and calls on the military forces and citizens to unite in a national transition. He certainly reports in the message, assures and directly accuses Khamenei of having ordered the elimination of thousands of dozens of thousands of young Iranians. Latest protests. A very harsh statement, but one we've seen, right? How the hospitals were overwhelmed, how there weren't enough ambulances to take all these people, how there were images of these freezer rooms where they had body after body, right? He also makes a direct call to the police, to the security forces, to abandon their loyalty to the regime and align themselves, he says, with the Iranian people. Pahlavi insists that the weapons defend the nation and not the criminal republic, marking the idea then that the fracture should already be generated from within. It is also mentioned that with the death of this leader, it does not make up for the fact that there will be more bloodshed. Support is also requested from public offices. Support is requested for the current system, for what remains, let's say, of the bubble of democracy, so that a change can be made, so that a transition can take place. That's how things are, the change that has happened in that sense, right? That is also important. Another message that also calls out to others, the ones they're talking about, is this one. Look, let's see if we can show the image. According to the reports, at a base in Karach, by the way, a base where the Basij are, another one of the Basij bases from this group I mentioned, was reportedly bombed. According to the reports, one of these bases in Karach was bombed, where the Basij were, the people, the Basij and the people, the military. They couldn't believe it. They thought nothing would happen to them, that nothing would be done to them. And well, after having done that, they have been constantly shooting at these protests, and now, well, they are facing a tremendous turn of events. Wasn't it going to, let's see, there was no way that at some point justice would be served, at least not with the current regime, and now, well, things are taking a tremendous turn. They couldn't believe it, their heads are about to explode. Yes, well, this is part of what is known to be happening, according to Iranian media reports. Now, within this situation, I already have the list of countries that have been attacked. Yes, let's go to the list. Let's see if we can put it up here. Here's the list of attacked countries. Let's check if it's included. There you have Cyprus, Oman, Bahrain, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, United Arab Emirates. And those are the attacks on land, I mean in areas, let's say within their territory. But aside from that, interests of the United Kingdom, Germany and France have also been attacked. Right now we're going to talk about what has been confirmed and what is still uncertain. But from this list, do we already know what has been done to them? For example, in the case of Syria, 2 drones have been launched. Saudi Arabia, 66 missiles. Qatar, 2 missiles and drones, although the number of drones is not clear. In Kuwait, 36 drones and 13 missiles. In Jordan, about 200 missiles and approximately 12 drones. Also, well, towards Erbil, there have also been attacks towards Israel itself. Obviously, a lot of interceptions, and so the list goes on. It's not that it's been happening, well, it's been tremendous. It's not a topic that I insist is expanding too quickly. Couldn't this then turn into a conflict where, well, other countries, right, get involved? Saudi Arabia has confirmed they will begin operations. We'll discuss this in more detail shortly. But they say, well, Saudi Arabia, that they are, well, going to launch an attack against Iran. Well, also, well, this situation is striking. Pay attention to it. According to reports, protesters had stormed. These are protesters who stormed the United States consulate in Pakistan. This happened after the attack by Iran. So, a group of Pakistanis started trying to force their way into the embassy, a consulate. At least 6 protesters, yes, at least are believed to have lost their lives in this attempt, right? At least 6. There are already other figures, even higher ones. These aren't things that, well, are usually calculated, but suddenly there's some need for control. Many people want to enter the consulate. It's probably been evacuated, probably the non-essential staff, most likely, but obviously, well, the same. Some reports say it was the Pakistani government forces who, wanting to move us quickly, also started shooting at these protesters. I mean, they're also carrying pickaxes, shovels, and so on, but you don't see them with weapons, at least not here, right? But actually entering or trying to enter a consulate is obviously a serious problem, so they've been using maximum force. According to what they claim, it's not clear if the United States also participated in those shootings. We'll discuss other versions of this topic later, as there is contrary information. For now, let's look at what happened in Pakistan. Another one of the images, well, also one of the most surprising that has already started to come out. Well, in the last few hours, there have been waves against Iran. One of the most surprising images is this: multiple attacks in different parts of Iran. There, at that moment, the headquarters of the Islamic Republic would have been attacked, according to reports. The headquarters of the Republic would have been destroyed, according to what they say. I insist this is information about an ongoing conflict. So, well, it may be that some things that are supposedly confirmed turn out not to be that they're not, so we're going to try to be as responsible as possible in that regard. But there are indeed different reports about the destruction of that headquarters. It would also be key in this movement that's being made toward that conflict, not another place. This is an image that is reported directly by the Israel Defense Forces account. That is the Israel Defense Forces account in which they show this attack. This shot, it says, the Iranian regime fired missiles directly toward a civilian neighborhood in Beit. So, in that month, would this have resulted in casualties from the shots fired in that area according to the reports? The regime says the Israel Defense Forces has been deliberately attacking civilian areas, as in the understanding that Iran wants to put pressure on the Israeli government by attacking civilians or attacking civilian areas. So that, well, the Israeli attacks calm down, right? At least that's what will be understood from this point of view. But are there already then also effects inside Israel? That's also an issue that, well, will be a proposal. Probability? Obviously not. Also, according to reports, another attack which is, well, very noticeable, obviously, is this one. According to reports, Iran would have launched an attack against the French naval base. And here, that's why I'm telling you this could become global. Let's examine what is known about this attack and what's happening. It's being reported for sure there's an attack on a French base. It's a French naval base that would be in Abu Dhabi. Yes, there are still few details about this attack, but they are talking about an attack that would have been carried out by the Israelis. Yes, now this situation, this image that has been reported, according to what they say, would be from these images. I insist it would have to be analyzed. It shouldn't be overlooked. It would really catch my attention. It would be a very serious mistake. Could this be, well, an image from another time, right? What do the intelligence reports say? Let's see what they say so we can find out if this is confirmed or not. Let's see what is known, what is actually confirmed, what the open source intelligence report says, for example, right? What the open source intelligence, for example, even the Pentagon uses these independent intelligence accounts where they suddenly show intelligence reports from other parts of the world, right? So what it says is that this is what can actually be seen. We'll have to wait and see what France says, right? In response to this, he says thick or black smoke has been observed rising from the place where it would have happened. An attack apparently took place, reportedly with drones and missiles at the Pikes camp. This happened at a French naval base in Abu Dhabi. Yes, in the United Arab Emirates. No, this is what's being said on these accounts. That's what is known. Supposedly they were drones. No, I insist here we're talking about assumptions because everything I insist is, well, very, very uncertain. Now, different media outlets have been reacting to this topic. No, they definitely report. Let's look at some of the media outlets that have been covering this situation. Let's see, I'm sure they're reporting right now. In this database, there are several records, several images from different angles where you can see smoke coming out. Huh? As far as they know, this base has been operating in the area since 2009. I mean, the Pikes camp, they don't call it Pikes. It's not like the Peace camp. That's what they named the base. It has been there, active since 2009. The idea is for France to have a permanent military presence, although there are very few people. Yes, according to the reports, this would be a huge mistake because then France could immediately want to get involved in the conflict. It's a very strange escalation. Honestly, not officially. We'll have to wait for more details. Yes, we'll need more information. If confirmed, the attack would represent a direct blow to European military infrastructure. Because this doesn't just affect them. Watch out, the NATO is there, it's right there. Even though NATO doesn't apply, Article 5 doesn't apply, at least according to what they've said themselves. It doesn't apply when a base is attacked in other parts of the world. Although there are some cases where it could apply, there are exceptions. For example, it doesn't apply if there's an armed conflict in which that NATO country is involved. In the case of France, it was not involved in the attack. Or maybe if you say it's that Iranians are shooting at Americans. Why doesn't NATO get involved when the United States attacks and then they respond and counterattack? So NATO says, no, that's not our conflict because you fired first. But if France is attacked, even if it's a foreign base, it's likely they would want to invoke that article. Who knows? We'll see how far it escalates. First, let's see if Macron comes out and reacts to this. Let's see if he says something. We'll have to keep checking right now, right? Let's see what details come up. What I have been able to see already is France 24. Let's check it here anyway, but they're telling me here that France 24 has already verified it. If that's the case, then we take it as a fact, right? If that's the case, we accept it as fact since the New York Times says they verified it. Let's go straight to France 24 anyway, because it should be in the same articles. Obviously, there it is, we're in, obviously, and now let's check, because if that's the case, then this would clearly take a different turn. I insist it would be a huge mistake. Let's wait and see if Groove's intelligence says that France 24 verified it. I'm also seeing it here, it says... Multiple sources confirmed it. Ministry of Defense, United Arab Emirates, British Broadcasting Corporation, France 24, and New York Times, as stated. Let's wait for the details, but it seems like yes, well, I insist, a tremendous turn, obviously, in this whole situation. Because now it's one more country within what we're seeing. Let's see, he says. There's also a let's see if this is confirmed. Come on, let's see, come on. It seems that the new leader, as we mentioned in the last broadcast, the new supreme leader, the one who is the intermittent one. By the way, Ali Khamenei, that's how he came in, that's how he came to power. He came as an intermittent, he came as a character. So there was supposed to be a transition to a new Ayatollah when the previous one passed away, and he took it from him. So we'll have to look into that matter for a minute. Let's move on to another point right now, and we'll come back to the France issue because that's a huge topic. But there are several images I want to discuss, I want to show. First, there's already a message from Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Let's hear what he says. In God's Quran, they say to us, Muhammadunillah Rasul. Let me just check quickly if we have a dub of that. I don't think we do. If we have a dub of that, I'll put them aside. But no, we don't have a dub. But I do have the message in Spanish here, so let's... The Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian is alive, and this morning he declared on state television that the Provisional Leadership Council is already operational and has assumed constitutional control of the Islamic Republic. According to him, he says we are following the leader's path with strength. Our armed forces are crushing, he says, the enemy's bases, says Pezeshkian. Well, you know, right? How is this matter? Meanwhile, at the White House, from the White House, this message is being sent by Donald Trump. Let's read the translation here. They'll say, he just declared today that he will strike very hard. He says, harder than ever, says Trump. However, it would be better for them not to do it. Yes, he posted this message last night. I remember now. He posted this last night because we had already finished the broadcast. He posted it somewhere, yes, at night, he says. However, look at the response. It would be better for them not to do it, because if they do, we will strike very hard with a force never seen before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, says President Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump. No, that's the message Trump is sending. Well, let's move on to other matters. But the effect is indeed confirmed. Iran has continued with the attacks, right? I mean, it was warned that a ceasefire could be implemented. Iran, he said. No, let's go to this moment. Let's go. There's a very intense moment. Let's look at what's happening. Look at what's happening here. This is a base over there in Tehran. This is in Tehran. There are several PASIC bases that have been or are being attacked. Pay attention to that. No, several bases are being attacked. Pay attention to that issue. Obviously, that draws attention. That's in the capital, in Tehran, attacking PASIC bases. That's also being reported. This is another issue that stands out. This part still can't be confirmed, although there are several reports we've mentioned here that say there are 4 bombers around. B-2S had already been seen over there in Spain, according to what people from there told me. But no, obviously they're not going to confirm it. These are those stealth planes that had already attacked in June, and now these B-2A Spirits reportedly flew non-stop from the United States. In other words, they didn't stop. It's important to remember that the B-2S have 2 pilots, so one can rest while the other just keeps going and going and going and going. They had been firing at several targets. These planes carry missiles that can penetrate certain bunkers to attack systems that are hidden around there. This is basically what was expected from day one, but I insist this part has not been officially confirmed. They haven't talked about the B-2S, so it's just speculation that has come out in intelligence reports. Open source intel has been commenting on this, but I insist this is not something that has been confirmed, not even by them. Even they have said that's just what has been reported. The Greek defense, for example, reported that, but it's strange that the Greek defense would say that, right? So let's see if this can be confirmed by those who should confirm it, which would be the United States or Israel, or maybe Iran. Right, I mentioned something about that topic, but we're going to treat that topic as potential, right? Also, the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces has also been confirmed as eliminated, according to the latest information published today. This was published today at 4 in the morning Mexico City time. It was confirmed that there had already been a rumor about this since yesterday, but it has now been confirmed that Abdularin Musavi, Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, according to reports, was eliminated along with 7 other members of this figure's security leadership. With him, there are now 40 high-ranking officials in addition to others close to the top leadership who have been eliminated throughout this conflict. That have been confirmed. That's what is being reported. Let's... Okay, there's a message that's about to come out right now. In a moment, we'll talk about it from Donald Trump. There's a message from Donald Trump, so we'll see it in just a moment. In the meantime, this person would be the one to replace him. Let's say the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Alireza Arafi, that would be the individual who will be replacing Ali Khamenei. Alireza Arafi, Alireza was in power for more than 30 years. Can you imagine how long this person is going to last? Well, it was being talked about, and I say this isn't an issue. That's been confirmed, right? But he just got in, and they were already saying he'd been removed. It's very likely that's what happened with the leaders of Hezbollah. They probably won't remember. When the Vipers operation occurred, the Mossad had set up a company 10 years ago. They had created a company, a fake company that sold telecommunications and sold Vipers and radios and all that, and they rebuilt those Vipers and radios that they sold to the regime. Well, it wasn't specifically to the Iranian regime, but rather to Hezbollah themselves, who have the connection through the Ayatollah. And that's how it was. One of the infiltrators, notice how one of the infiltrators was inside Iran, inside the Iranian regime, but he was actually a Mossad infiltrator. He tells them, hey, that company is cool, it's good, you can trust them, and they started trusting them, and everyone, all the leaders, let's say, of Hezbollah, had their Vipers and had their radios. And suddenly, at a certain moment, they get a warning, and at that moment, the explosion happens. So it left many of those chiefs, those leaders, either dead or blind because they had the Vipers close by. Imagine he's reading it and it explodes in his face. Well, a lot of people knew that they flew to hospitals in Iran to get their eyes treated, but they ended up either blind or dead. But then they also eliminated the leader of Hezbollah there, replaced him with another, and eliminated him again. And they kept doing that for a while, changing and changing, until they couldn't find the last one anymore, I guess. While he is appointed to join the leadership council, they call him, for the successor, it's a leadership council to be. So, he is the supreme leader, this one at the top, but only temporarily, supposedly. He might stay, he might say, no, I don't want to, I don't know, we'll see about that. But be careful, because there are several potential ayatollahs, or rather potential supreme leaders, because all of them are ayatollahs. But potential supreme leaders, they are more extreme than Ali Khamenei, they are more intense. Be careful with that issue, because it could also be another of the risks that are being considered. Meanwhile, well, it has been reported from the official account of the Prime Minister himself, Prime Minister Netanyahu, this image in which he has obviously had these meetings. The Prime Minister also had or held a consultation. Security, this image is taken, this meeting with the security people. Well, to give a report on how the borders are, how things are in Iran, how did the intelligence issue come up? All of that was discussed. In that meeting, obviously there was some applause for the goals that have been achieved and so on and so forth. No, that too is part of what happened. We also have to pay attention to see what else this Abbas Araghchi says, this individual who is also one of the key figures. Many believe that he was one of those who really led the regime. The Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abbas Araghchi, which is like the position, let's say, of Marco Rubio. Yes, he's in charge of foreign relations, but obviously, well, it's a country that right now has a lot of problems with foreign affairs. He says, we have already instructed our armed forces to be careful with the targets our military units choose. They are now, in fact, independent and somewhat isolated, and they act according to general instructions that were given to them beforehand. So, what does it mean when he implies like he's sending a message, like he's saying, hey, be careful with which countries you're getting involved with, because, for example, that attack from France really catches my attention. It would be a huge mistake. Let's see, I insist, what can be confirmed about all these issues, but it already really catches my attention. And it's a topic that can get out of hand in a big way. Let's go to what he says. The country, perhaps one of the most attacked outside of Israel and the United States, in terms of its bases. Now tell me what's happening with them. Look, this, is the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, right? Now they report that the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has authorized the Royal Armed Forces of Saudi Arabia to counterattack Iran if necessary, calling Iran's attempted attacks on the east of the country cowardly. According to them, Iran knows, he says, that Saudi airspace was not used for attacks against them by Israel or the United States. That's what they're saying. The Iranians knew that Saudi Arabian airspace was not used, nor was its territory used to attack Iran. From Saudi Arabia, no attack was carried out. He asks if the Iranians knew, why attack? Yes, so, well, now he authorizes for an attack to be carried out, right? It's not known what they've attacked or where they're going to attack. But now the real armed forces are already preparing what will be an attack against Iran. So that's also, well, that's another one of the interesting points, right? I'm sure they'll report on it. The Israeli Defense Forces are currently mobilizing 100,000 reservists. The ground troops will reinforce the borders with Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Judea, and Samaria. The Israeli Defense Forces are getting ready, and when they call up the reservists, well, be careful, they're already thinking about something else. The Home Front Command, for example, mobilized 20,000 reservists just for search and rescue tasks. There are reinforcements from the Air Force, there are reinforcements in the Navy, and there are reinforcements in the Intelligence Directorate. The Israel Defense Forces state that they will prepare and provide reservists with everything they need. The necessary logistical means to operate under the best conditions. Where are we going to see the emphasis? Where is the real concern right now? For those reserves? And for the movement that Israel is making, obviously, where is the concerning part for them? Here's Israel. Let's clarify the division. This one, right? And this is the area that concerns them the most, the entire northern part, especially towards Lebanon and Syria. Why here in Syria? We have to remember that there are rebel groups that, even though they've attacked the Syrians, have moved south and are hanging around there. Between Jordan, Syria, and also in Lebanon, there's Hezbollah, which could also be another group that might want to make some kind of move. So, this whole area, the entire border basically, but also the south, don't think the south is going away. It's just that the main focus will be the north. And then they'll see, I imagine, if they're going to make some kind of move somewhere else. But that's also part of what's happening right now. And let's go to other points, other images. Well, more interesting images. Let's see there it is. See you next time. Impressive. Listen to this. Thank you. This would have happened, according to reports, in the United Arab Emirates. They warn they might retaliate, while Iran keeps launching missiles and drones at their territory. They've already started to show force, they've already started to show planes, we can already see what's happening. That also needs to be taken into account among what could also come. According to reports, the Israeli and American airstrikes have destroyed a building in the Revolutionary Court of Tehran. Is this the most important symbol, or as they say, the central symbol of the regime? No, yes, it is. At least that's what has been reported. It doesn't look completely destroyed, but it does look damaged. I wouldn't dare say it's destroyed, at least not from the image. But that's what they've been claiming. Also, within all of this, another topic, another issue that catches my attention is the statement made by United States Central Command, the United States Forces. Let's see if I can show it here, the United States Forces, which are in charge of potential military risks, basically. And they send out what they call a fact check. No, is the... Well, what they've said is something that has been circulating all day today, since very early in the morning. They said that the United States ship Abraham Lincoln was attacked with a ballistic missile, but they assure that this is a lie. That's what they say. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard claims to have attacked the Abraham Lincoln with ballistic missiles. They say it wasn't hit. The missiles didn't come close. The Lincoln continues launching aircraft in support of United States Central Command's tireless campaign to defend the American people, eliminating the threat from the Iranian regime. That's what the same statement from the United States Ship Control Command says. Well, that's what they've responded, this information that's been going around. That's also an important part, right? Yes, more information keeps coming out. I insist. This, well, at least for now, it hasn't been confirmed, but there are still reports that the new Ayatollah, yes, may have lost his life. They say this was quick. They say there, without confirming this is still unconfirmed, right? So, well, let's wait for more details, but let's go to this. Well, video, right? That's circulating around here. Let's listen to this.
ما تو اون جنگ 12 روزه 10 ساعت اول طول کشید تا اولین شلیک انجام دادیم. اینجا کمتر از 2-3 ساعت ما شلیک.
¿Qué es lo que dice? Bueno, pues Mohsen Razai asegura que todavía estaría vivo hace algunos years. He even managed to have eliminated propio hijo en los Emiratos Árabes porque su hijo se oponía al less than $6. Now, aseguran los. Do those who have seen these videos in which he's alive know that he looks nervous? Imagine reaching a point where you even attack your own family because they don't believe, because they oppose your policies. It's crazy. Obviously, another image that people have been seeing is this one, if we can put it up here. And look, we're still looking at images. And well, there's more to come, right? And we have several reports prepared here. So, well, get your coffee ready, get whatever you want to eat ready. Greetings to Claudio, greetings to Wilco, to Draco, to the whole community that's joining us. Thank you so much for being here with us. Hello, Eric, what's up? Things are getting ugly, says Garzalino. How have you been? Hello, says Claudio. Unfortunately, to wars. Always, always. When someone makes a mistake, they say it's not true because they're not going to admit they're committing crimes against humanity, says Claudio. How have you been, Claudio Draco? How have you been, Panterita? Hello, let's move on to other matters, other important topics as well. Alright, pay attention. With this issue coming up, residents of Iran, specifically Tehran, have been leaving the capital. You can't quite see it in the background, but you can see the cars lining up. These are the highways, especially heading north, which is where most Iranians have decided to go, especially from Tehran. Don't you think they're going to get closer to Turkey? Turkey is already aware of the possibility that a lot of people might want to leave, even to their country. Others think they're simply going to move to another city temporarily. Others are just going to country houses, to the mountains and places like that. To feel a bit more at ease, notice that there's a lot of cabin culture and enjoyment, just like in any other country with mountains. They go there for a visit because there are several well-known content creators who go to those places. Between Turkey, Iran, and all that mountainous region, it's more than just a little curious. It's very interesting. Another image as well. Well, this is part of what's been happening. It's the Air Force 16 from the Jordanian Air Force, which has been showing this. Jordan has quite interesting aviation capabilities, among the most capable in the area. At least they've been making moves with these planes, although so far no attacks have been reported. They have indeed been shooting at these Shaheds. They've been seen hunting Iranian drones. But for now at least, there hasn't been any attack from Jordan directly against the Iranians. They have held back, and that's usually how they are. In the case of Jordan, it has a good defense system. It does allow the United States to have military forces inside, but beyond that, it usually doesn't get involved. Now that Jordan has been attacked, maybe things could change, but for now at least, there's no confirmation that it's going to happen, right? So we'll also be commenting on and observing that. Hello, how are you, Lily? You've already seen each other, right? 3:45 in the afternoon. No, I don't think so. It's already like half an hour into lunch. How have you been? Hey, Egypt, no, look, Egypt, no, there are reports of attacks. Egypt hasn't really gotten involved in the issue so far, and there's no talk of any kind of attack at the moment. They tried to get more involved in the dialogue, but with the gas issue, no, not with this, no, at least not so far, not with this issue either. Well, another one of the shocking images. This would be a United States base in Qatar. Pay attention to this, because it really is shocking. This attack is not being reported as having hit a base, an air base. This is in Qatar, according to reports. Let's see what is known, but this is already being reported by several intelligence sources. Today, the CENTCOM stated that in fact at least 3 Americans may have lost their lives. Other sources mention 5, but officially it's 3, and also several injured, all due to attacks on United States bases. It's surprising how far this has spread. The dubbing is already done. Well, in a moment we'll see what's happening with this message from Donald Trump. Just before this, some satellite images that have been shared on the famous palm tree in Dubai. Do you remember this super luxury place? Well, look, there's smoke coming out there. Because of the attacks that have been seen this since yesterday, the thing is that they have continued. They have kept attacking tourist areas. The idea behind the attacks? Why target so many countries that didn't participate in the conflict? The idea is, at least that's what is believed, that those countries put pressure on the United States, tell them to tone it down a bit so we don't get attacked, and it seems that hasn't been the result. It seems that these countries are not falling for that game, and what they're actually doing is thinking about launching an attack over there. Now, all the channels right now internally, all the propaganda channels, the state channels of Iran, have stopped broadcasting. I mean, multiple people have been showing how they enter the official channels, yes, over there in Iran, the state channels, right? And what you see are messages from Trump, messages from Netanyahu. They're hacked, yes, or there's no signal, or they're hacked with messages from the United States and Israel. All the regime's propaganda channels on the air have been deactivated. Or images would appear, like I said, videos of Netanyahu, or they would simply show no signal. That's also, well, an important part of what's been happening in this whole tremendous situation, right? That's also important. Now, there's also footage of clashes between Iraqi security forces, Iraqi, not Iranian, Iraqi security forces and pro-Iranian protesters. In the green zone, I showed you the daytime image, and now there's a nighttime one. This is still happening. These individuals, these people from Iraq want to protest, but they want to go to the green zone where the United States Embassy is, and the Iraqi forces are not allowing it. So it's getting very intense, I'm telling you. That part of the area, Baghdad, is getting really chaotic, according to what has been observed. So, the police are trying to drive them away, but they're insisting on staying there. And it's an issue that continues to be concerning. If this continues down that path, it could obviously lead to an increase in the conflict, obviously an escalation in the area, right? In the last 24 hours, look, the number has already changed directly or indirectly. 15 different countries have been attacked directly, according to the latest data. Here you have Israel, the United States, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Bahrain, Oman, Syria, Cyprus, France with the base in Italy, the NATO camp at the Al Salman base, and the United Kingdom with the Akrotiri base in Cyprus, with this oil tanker. So there are quite a few countries involved, right? I mean, this has really spread a lot. It's become kind of chaotic. How long can you sustain such an extensive attack when you don't really have that many drones or missiles? Well, that's the decision that's been made. That's the reaction they're having for now from... But yes, the same, extending the conflict to other countries. if they start responding to you, well, things are going to get more and more out of control, you know. Another of the images. Also, before we talked about Trump, let me just show you this. This is the headquarters of the regime's Ministry of Intelligence, which, according to reports, was attacked. We'll see if this also develops further. I insist this is very changeable. But they claim that this Ministry of Intelligence was also attacked inside Iran. If this is the case, then watch out. They're already attacking the main offices of the Revolutionary Guard, the Basij, and now also intelligence. So, are they going to keep moving forward in that direction? Let's go then to the image, the message from Donald Trump.
In the last 36 hours, the United States and its allies have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, and overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. No one has ever seen anything like this before. We have attacked hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities and Iranian air defense systems. Just a few moments ago, it was announced that we destroyed 9 more ships, their naval building, all in a matter of, literally, minutes. The former supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This miserable and vile man had the blood of hundreds, even thousands of Americans on his hands, and was responsible for the massacre of countless thousands of innocent people in many countries. Last night, all across Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command has also disappeared, and many of them want to surrender to save their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations are continuing right now with full force and will continue until all our objectives have been achieved. We have very firm objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't pull it off. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 Americans, members of the military, have been killed in action. As one nation, we mourn for you, true American patriots, who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country, even as we continue the just mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will probably be more before it's over. That's just how things are. There will probably be more, but we will do everything we can to prevent that. But the United States will avenge their deaths and deliver the harshest blow to the terrorists. They have basically declared war on civilization. They have declared war on civilization itself. Our determination, just like Israel's, has never been stronger. The United States is now once again the richest country, the most powerful nation in the world, by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life we have, as well as freedom and security, is because we have done things that others cannot do. But it's thanks to the warriors who are willing to give their lives to fight against our enemies, and they fight better than anyone else. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a serious threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that forms terrorist armies to possess such weapons, as it would allow them to extort the world according to their evil will. We are not going to let that happen. It's not going to happen to us, and we are not going to allow it to happen to others. The United States has the strongest army the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our army during my first term. There has never been an army like the one we have. And frankly, there's no one who even comes close. But now we're using that army for good. We want to have it for a good purpose. We are carrying out this huge operation not only to ensure safety in our own time and place, but also for our children and our children's children, just as our ancestors did for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and necessary to ensure that Americans never have to face a terrorist regime. Radical and bloodthirsty, armed with nuclear weapons and many threats. For nearly 50 years, these evil extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America," or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. We are the greatest and most powerful nation in the world, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. Once again, I urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Army, and the Iranian police to lay down their arms and receive full immunity, or they will face certain death. It will be certain death. It won't be pretty. I call on all Iranian patriots who long for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, to be bold, to be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made you a promise, and I kept it. The rest will be up to you, but we will be there to help. Thank you. May God bless our incredible warriors, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Well, there's the message, not the usual one. The usual one, not the usual one. Well, so that's the thing here. The interesting part is that a movement has started. Obviously, there are also messages that are going to be like this one, more like a campaign message, not a campaign. Said today by Thomas Macy, a United States congressman, a Republican. By the way, he said no because you're bombing the other side of the world. Does it mean we're going to forget about the Einstein case? Strong statement, but well, it's obviously an issue. And he himself, Trump himself at the time, criticized Obama because, according to him, Obama was going to start a war with Iran because of campaign issues. Is it true that the circumstances were such that the storm was perfect? On one hand, if Ali Khamenei falls, it's a better world. I mean, definitely, in that sense, it's a better world. I mean, that part can't be denied. He's an unacceptable character, truly regrettable, who shouldn't be here, honestly. Him and that regime. But the move that Trump makes is a political internal move. That's also something that draws attention. Now, the issue, or the most important thing, is that this doesn't go beyond anything else, that it doesn't get extended. Because if it spreads, if it turns into a war throughout the entire Middle East, it would be tremendous. And it seems that the Iranians have made that decision already, well, with the way Iran is handling things. Iran has two options. Either you attack only the United States and Israel and keep the others neutral, which didn't happen, it didn't occur. Or do you try to put pressure on the whole Middle East? Why do you do this? Because you affect the entire global economy. And if you affect the entire global economy, the strongest pressure will go towards the United States. What are they going to say to the United States? Hey, stop it already, because the economy is going down. That's the bet. It's just a bet. Not that it's going to happen. It's a bet. Their bets. Trump's bet. Netanyahu's bet. Khamenei's bet. Obviously, Khamenei's bet was tremendously illogical. It made no sense. Wanting to stay in his house and not go to a bunker to begin with. What is he thinking? The huge miscalculation. But shooting at France, I think that was way out of line there. I can understand the strategic part from the Arab countries because it's global financial pressure. But shooting at a NATO country that wasn't involved in the issue, that had been critical of Trump? But still, be careful because then it makes the problem bigger. I'm waiting for the markets to open. I'm waiting for the markets to open because it's going to be, Bitcoin is doing well. At first, if we look at it from the crypto point of view, but crypto doesn't tell me much right now. Why? Because crypto might seem like they're doing well. And it's not necessarily a positive sign for the market in the sense that crypto also becomes a safe haven. For example, if right now there are some leaders from Iran who want to escape from Iran, they can take Bitcoins with them, they can send dollars to Bitcoin. That part could get stronger. So, let's move on to another topic because Astrid is scolding me here. She's telling me there are more important things to talk about than finances. So let's move on to another topic because things are getting intense. Let's go. Well, this has already turned into a global war. At this moment, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Italy are going to support the conflict. This just took a huge turn, but the 4 countries I just mentioned are going to make a move and start getting involved in the conflict. This is no longer just Israel and the United States. This has taken a turn. Yes, this has taken a huge turn. So let's get into the details of what is known. It was expected. It was a huge mistake to get involved because with these countries, honestly, it didn't make sense, right? So let's get into the details. Let's see what's happening because there's already a complete turn in the conflict here. Just let me see what's going on. Well, the spokesperson, the aircraft carrier, French Charles de Gaulle, the most iconic French aircraft carrier they have, the Charles de Gaulle, is currently heading towards the Eastern Mediterranean. That is towards Israel, because from there, well, you can launch towards Iran without having to... having all of Israel's shields, so Israel and the United States protect you, but you can attack without any problem. We'll talk about the details of what France is doing in a moment. Yes, we'll talk about that topic too. At the same time, the United Kingdom is already getting involved in the conflict, according to reports from the United Kingdom. It has already announced it will let the United States use all its bases to attack Iranian missile sites. The Prime Minister is starting to open up to allowing attacks from the United Kingdom. It's not clear yet. We'll see the full report in a moment. Whether they are going to operate or just allow it, or if they are going to operate, with intelligence and things like that, or if they are going to operate, or if they are just going to allow the attack to be carried out. From there, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom are willing to attack Iran in defense of their interests. We'll see in a moment what Italy said as well, right? But that's already, let's say, 3 countries, some of the most powerful military forces, not just in Europe, who are also already participating, though in different ways, some more intensely than others. But getting into the topic now, let's go to what is known, not in detail. Here's the summary. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom warn that they will be analyzing, it says, to attack directly on territory to destroy the capacity of missiles and drones. They assure that they could take action at any moment. The scale reached a critical level after the joint announcement. Along with Bloc 3, the France, Germany, United Kingdom bloc, which declares itself ready to intervene militarily against Iran. In other words, they say they are already willing to attack. They say they could take necessary, proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's ability to launch missiles and drones. The statement is supported by Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz from Germany, Macron, obviously from France, Merz from Germany, and Keir Starmer from the United Kingdom. The Bloc of 3 confirmed that they will work closely with the United States as well to respond to any Iranian attack. The European leaders described the missiles launched by Iran against other countries as indiscriminate and disproportionate. Are they saying if you had only attacked Israel, the United States wouldn't have reacted? Why? Because, well, it's understood that it's a defense. But here they say, wait a minute, what does Cyprus have to do with it? What does Syria have to do with it? What do the United Arab Emirates have to do with it? And so on, right? One of the drones hit a French hangar. and it's a naval hangar in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, this caused damage, although they say it was limited material damage, but of course they didn't like it. The British Ministry of Defense reported that the Typhoon fighter jet neutralized an Iranian drone in a joint mission in Qatar. So the United Kingdom is already operating. The United Kingdom already operating in Qatar. Meanwhile, Israel, they say, continues to be a direct target of Iranian attacks. After initial bombings carried out in response to the attacks launched by the United States and Israel inside Iran. In the Ipsos poll and also in the Reuters poll, they indicate that only 1 in 4 Americans, 1 in 4, approve the use of force. It doesn't have support. It's a war that doesn't have support, you know? Be careful. I mean, among the American population, if you possibly ask the Iranians, well, maybe it could be different. It also depends on who you ask. No, but within the United States, if Trump measured this, it's already a matter of campaign. It's a matter of getting people to vote for me. I don't know what. Well, right now, in the Ipsos poll and in the Reuters poll, they indicate that a quarter, 25%, are in favor of the use of force. Also, Papa Leon, 14, would have asked to stop the conflict, stating that peace is not achieved through amnesty. At least that's the message that Papa Leon 14 has just sent right now. The European warning is marking then a point, a turning point, a shift that was not expected. Now, in that sense, it really draws attention. And well, what exactly is being done? The United Kingdom wants to be involved. I was authorized. Also, the use of facilities for defensive attacks against Iranian sites. Keir Starmer confirmed that the United Kingdom will allow the United States to use British military bases to launch defensive attacks. Besides, they will be using their own planes to attack the Iranian drones. On the other hand, Starmer assured that the decision was made under international law parameters and promised to publish the summary of the legal advice that supports this action. Starmer is not a big fan of Trump. It's not like they get along, you know, like really well. In fact, they had a phone call around last Thursday, which they publicly announced and talked about. During the call, they agreed to continue with diplomatic efforts, which, well, was a surprise over the weekend. Allow me. Yes. They already scared it away from me. I think the SIP already got scared. Well, and Macron sends to see if we can have it. Here is the photo of yes. The Charles de Gaulle, not this aircraft carrier. That's possibly the most iconic aircraft carrier, at least for the French. France sends this aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, to the Eastern Mediterranean. While all this message is being taken in, the conflict between Iran and Israel and the United States assures that the aircraft carrier will be a key part of what follows. They assure that the deployment at sea will be urgently in the Eastern Mediterranean, but this will take several days. Because I think it's in the Baltic, if I'm not mistaken. Right now it should be in the Baltic. That's where the aircraft carrier was, so it's not going to be from one day to the next. This could take a while. The trigger was a drone attack on a French naval base in Abu Dhabi. That's something I had mentioned to you here before. Macron declared that this is their security priority, and well, this action is being taken because of the attack they received, which they found unacceptable, they say. And he insists that it has been disproportionate. That is not the message, at least not the one given so far. No, that's not it. Obviously, it's key to understanding all of this whole conflict. And well, this. If there was any doubt that this is becoming a global issue, there's not much doubt left now. It's clear that it has spread much more, maybe much more than planned. I don't know what you all think, but later on we'll obviously be reading comments. But since it has spread, not just how this topic has taken turns, let's move on to another point, also important. by the way, the Italy thing is still pending, right? That's what Italy knows, at least up until now. They are creating what they call a task force in the Gulf. The idea is that, at least for now, they are going to keep strengthening, says the crisis unit. They are going to support the efforts of the embassies and consulates in the region, of their own countries as well as those of friendly countries. The Italian government is adding in a statement that it welcomed the cooperation of the Gulf governments, and their airlines are also offering actions. Stranded Italians, mainly assistance. They will have a force, and that force will be dedicated to protecting or helping Italians who have a problem, or also people from friendly countries. That happens often. That seems to be the most important announcement. No, for now, I don't see Italy announcing anything else yet, no. And if the Minister of Foreign Affairs urges Italians to leave to avoid conflict zones, but we're not going, there isn't all that. Even more than the task force, which isn't a task force, it's not a strike force, but rather a force for, as they say, like for this rescue basically, but if it's armed, right? I mean, if it's an armed force. But I don't see right now, at least in the E3 report, well, it's there and Italy isn't. Obviously not, so I think that's all Italy has said so far, so, well, Italy, I would still take it out. From a country that's entering into conflict, we would only leave Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and obviously Israel, the United States, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and possibly Jordan. And some other countries, maybe some from the environmental sector that want to participate. Unfortunately, this could spread to others, more and more countries, right? And many times presidents think that wars will make people vote for them more. It seems that's not going to be the case. The United States and the average American, let's say, are not interested in geopolitics. I think that here in let's say the Hispanic world, we're a little more interested in these things. And in other countries too. I think so, because in other countries in Europe, etc., there is a more global view of reality. We're interested in what's happening in other parts of the world. In the United States, I've always noticed that family and friends usually show only a little interest. I mean, it's like people don't talk about it much, and if they do, they talk about what the United States does or doesn't do. Yeah, but I don't know. People don't check what's happening in Japan or elsewhere. If they're not involved, they don't care. So, well, seeing such a long war from a country that they say it's not like they attacked us right now, you know? I mean, it's not like because the message that Trump gives is, well, that I walked away. And that it has caused thousands of deaths among United States forces, which is true. I mean, look, we have to remember all the pro-Iranian militias in Iraq. And so, I mean, come on, if you add up over the 30 years that those militias have been operating, and if you count how many times they've attacked United States military groups in that whole area, mainly in Iraq and Syria, well, yes, if you count, there will surely be, I don't know if thousands, but yes, well, a significant number of United States soldiers have lost their lives to capoeirista groups, or rather, the Iranians. But it's forced. I mean, when it comes to selling it, he, as a showman communicator, can't sell that to the American public. No, they don't buy it. I mean, no, they're not seeing it. They say, let's see, where is it? They'll ask, where's the attack? Prove it. Do you remember in 1994 when something happened? They'll say, no, but I already saw it, buddy. I mean, come on, it's not like what happened on September 11th, right? Where you say, wow, I mean, in that case, the population supports almost anything, right? Basically, they don't know. Unfortunately, we're also living in a very reactionary time, right? So if there's nothing really obvious for the American people specifically, they're like, what's this for? What's the point of this, right? That's why I'm not surprised by the polls. It's not surprising that most people are against this whole issue, right? Well, more images keep coming out of these figures, these Iranian figures who were obviously pro-regime, right? And they show this, right? I insist, this is the... It's those moments when that's the woman, that's the calculation. We made a video on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Thursday. The title said, what if Thursday or Friday? And what if Khamenei's calculation was, well, let it be, let the clashes happen, I mean, for a movement like this to take place. Because in the end, what Iran really lacked was unity. The people who are against the regime, which is clearly the majority in Iran, well, just because they're attacking doesn't mean they're going to support the new regime. Not at all. I mean, for the regime. I'm referring to the new Ayatollah, I don't think so, but that other percentage, they estimate about 15-20% are those who are close to Khamenei's leadership. No, that's not a good idea because then it just gets lost. For example, the Basij are counted in the millions. I mean, no, even if it was 15-20, that's an impressive number. Are you going? And it's an armed force where the vast majority are actually university students. Let's go. There's also a group of young people on scholarships sponsored by the armed forces. Probably a very small percentage of them are truly loyal to that Ayatollah, but it is a small percentage. Well, even so, it's dangerous, especially dangerous. Thinking that they are forming some kind of internal unity among themselves. Because there must be a lot of satisfaction inside due to the economic crisis, but nothing more. For example, the Revolutionary Guard, yes, just to give us an idea, controls 20% of the economy, or are they not just a guard and have weapons? And that's it, but they also give them big projects and a lot of budget to develop them. For example, the company that's in charge of, what do they call it, like the security of the oil depots, which is, imagine an oil-rich country like Iran, the ones in charge of those depots, of producing, of creating all the depots. That's a company owned by the Revolutionary Guard, they are. They own the most important telecommunications company in Iran. It's their team. I mean, what produces about 20% belongs to the Guard, so just imagine it's the Revolutionary Guard, so how many millions of people depend on that Revolutionary Guard? Maybe, even if they're against the regime, it's the one that feeds them. So it gets complicated. It's a bit like what happens in Venezuela too. Suddenly you ask, how is it possible that they put up with Maduro? And you respond, yes, that's the sector. I mean, maybe it's a smaller percentage, but it's a percentage that lives off of that. They've already gotten used to it. They already get their little bit of money. And it doesn't matter if there's repression, if there's this or that, because here I take care of my own things. And so suddenly that can happen in that kind of situation, especially now, right? Thank you. Okay. Look, among these images, there's also this one again, and we can put it up here on the screen. That one is very surprising because of the way countries with a budget act, but this one we have to look at it before anything else. Look, this is an Israeli fighter jet. I think this image has already circulated quite a bit, but these are the kinds of risks you face in any of these conflicts. Let's see if we can look at the image. This guy, really, if it's not, is it or isn't it, he says? If it's not done, not that it's hers, from what I understand, if it's a real image, but I try to look at them. Wow, it looks like it is. It looks like it's an Israeli plane. It looked like it was American, but it seems like it's an Israeli plane. From what I'm seeing here, let's see, I don't think so. It seems like, I don't know, wow, let's just leave it. If I have doubts, it's better not to show it, I'm getting sent a lot of obviously fake videos, but some got lost, like who shared this one or that person, so no. If I don't know them, no, it doesn't come from any report or intelligence, so I'll leave it aside. This one, yeah, it's like you're being chased by a missile, supposedly, but no, from what I'm seeing, no, it's not. But anyway, but look at what countries with money do, right? This document you're seeing here is a document made by the United Arab Emirates, in which they're offering it to all tourists. Imagine that's what they live off of for the most part, besides oil, right? Tourism. The United Arab Emirates has announced that they will pay for all hotel expenses, all accommodation expenses, food, hotel, everything for the tourists who can't leave the country. Hey, my flight was supposed to be tomorrow, but there's no departure since there are currently no airports. I have no idea what's happening. Every day you stay, you have a hotel, you have food, we're going to be paying for you here. No problem. No. I mean, well, that's good in that sense. On another note, I don't know, because there are thousands of people stranded right now who want to leave. There are some who are really nervous, others who are enjoying it, saying, well, extra vacation, because it hasn't been seen like this either. Just like every time, there's danger, and yes, there have been risky moments, but not like that. There's been a bit of everything, but not really. You know, there aren't many influencers around there hanging out, and I have seen some really exaggerated ones, but well, there's a bit of everything, a little bit of everything. Let's get to several topics. Like I said, this is full of information, and I'm trying not to go on too long to keep it brief, but let's take a look at those topics. I'm going to try to go a little faster because there really are a lot of things. So, let's go. They assure. And I mentioned this a little while ago briefly, but we don't have all the data. Not yet. There are 2 people dead and 14 injured in a shooting at a bar in Texas, but the FBI says this happened, or is rather an act of terrorism. 2 people lost their lives and 14 were injured in a bar in Austin, Texas, the state capital. A city, by the way, very beautiful, down there in the south of the United States. The motive is not known at the moment, but according to the FBI, they believe it is an act of terrorism. They say it's too early to make a full determination, but there is evidence that would show this has a connection to terrorism, according to what the FBI Special Agent Alex Doran says. Although it's early in the process to determine the exact motivation, there were indications related to the subject and the vehicle that point to a connection, to a problem, a possible link, he says. With terrorism, be careful with that, because these kinds of incidents can start happening. That's a risk we also have to be alert to. That, well, we'll analyze it and discuss it in more detail if there's more information or if there's something else going on as well. The Pentagon claims that the missiles, well, we've already talked about that. We've already discussed it. What was happening supposedly with this missile on the aircraft carrier to Bahrain, which turned out to be false, right? Okay. There are also reports of 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz and a ship heading toward the Mediterranean Sea that have been attacked at different times. Apart from an Iranian oil tanker, which was also accidentally attacked for the same reason by this Iranian. The Strait of Hormuz has seen a significant escalation in the attacks that have been reported in the shipping industry. Maersk announced the suspension of all its operations in the area for an indefinite period. For now. Currently, all shipping companies will likely say, wait a moment. I won't even move. The insurance companies don't want to provide me with service, so it's better if we wait until things calm down a bit. I think that's the way it is. Let's move on to another topic. Great. Let's see, let's look at this image, and I insist with caution very carefully as always because, let's see, but this would be huge. If this is true, it would be huge. A drone, according to reports, allegedly blew up a United States ammunition depot at an airbase in northern Iraq. From Iraq, look, they claim it's likely that the famous Shahed was used, but we'll have more details a little later. This one looks calm, but check the next image. So this would supposedly be an Iranian ammunition depot. I insist. Take this, as always, with a grain of salt because you can't determine it just like that. Is it true? This? I see there are several reports. That's why I'm mentioning it, but so far there's none that confirm it 100%. Well, some are confirming it, but I don't see the exact source. I didn't get new coffee. We're not staying here all day. So, thank you. It says, let's see, it's likely that Iran has used, it says it has used the Shahed, highly effective. It says unmanned, the manned Shahed drone, highly effective for this kind of thing. All right, let's see. Let's see if this can be confirmed. Well, it was published 10 minutes ago. I think it would be better to wait for more information, right? Reports say this is a base in northern Iraq. But what can be observed, what is becoming increasingly clear, is that 40 high-ranking military commanders of the regime were killed. According to the new statement released today, the Israeli army, the Israel Defense Forces, states that in an operation called Lion's Roar, they were killed. Of the 47, they were members of the Iranian High Security Directorate. Among the targets hit is Mohammed al-Jim Moassabeh, Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, one of the most influential officers. We just mentioned him, right? He was the one they reported at 4 a.m., by the way. The official statement says the operation was conducted from multiple locations in Tehran. Allow me, please. Wow, what should I lean on, huh? Well, Moa knows he had taken over the leadership of the general staff after the death of Mohammad Bagheri. They've already made all the references, but it's 40 top officials. There are some publications that have already been made about who are the ones who have lost their lives. Not here, some of them. By the way, the former Iranian president is there, huh? He would have been eliminated. This one, we know that several figures have fallen, obviously, as confirmed by the intelligence from Israel, the United States, and so on. At the time, there already were. We have to remember the levels of intelligence that exist and are managed throughout this area. In some countries like Saudi Arabia, they claim to have a very, very, very high level of intelligence. The Iranians, needless to say, also have their own, but the one that stands out there is Mossad. They're in a completely different league. Not even the CIA nor Russian intelligence. No, it's a level that you just don't see. It's not handled anywhere else, no. The Iranians had their own agenda, and Saudi Arabia can defend itself. But they've made some achievements, let's say, in intelligence that are really impressive. A few years ago, there was a force, yes, there was a force inside Iran dedicated to eliminating Israeli intelligence. There was a force there, and it was led by a Mossad infiltrator. I mean, at that level, no. I mean, if they leak because he's Iranian, he's from here, he's from there, and it turns out, well, he's not, right? Or that they play on the other side, let's say. So, yes, it's really intense, right? Well, and besides, are these infiltrations that take decades, or is their life built that way? Back in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics era, maybe they had that level of intelligence. During the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics times, they were winning on another level. I would even suggest that the United States and British intelligence services at that time were also very good. But look, we follow a lot of intelligence sites, we follow a lot of former intelligence agents who say it themselves. United States intelligence was at a very, very, very good level. At that time, it was the golden age of intelligence groups, but it declined a lot. Yes, now they've tried to rely a lot on intelligence through networks and things like that, but that's not it. I mean, what works is that you get involved, become a part of it, and then that information reaches another level. But for that, you need people who are very committed, super brave, and they're going to live two worlds in their head. They're going to live two worlds, two realities. Those are other levels. So in the case of Russia, for example, we have to remember they probably still have some of that, but not like in the past. There was a city in Russia that was 100% American. I mean, it looked like it was 100% made by intelligence. Russians lived there, but everyone spoke English. They were 100% not allowed to speak Russian. They only consumed American products to familiarize the children and adults, but mainly the children. And once they got used to that life, once they were Americans, they were given a life in the United States. They gave them everything: their passport, social security, even documents from deceased people. Is this going to be your name? From now on, and from, let's say, 7 or 8 years old, that's how it was. They lived in that era. Back then, they lived that whole life. They had children, jobs. They studied from time to time. They say, today there are 5 of us here, 3, 5, 4. Okay, well, not anymore. And thanks to one of them in 70. Had a child, got married. He lived a very good life, very happy. He really enjoyed life. Suddenly, they tell him they have to do this now. And he didn't want to anymore. He didn't want to because he already had his life. He had his children, everything, and he deserted. He goes to, I don't know if it's the FBI or the CIA with someone, and he gives them all the information and tells them, hey, this is how it is. And he's the one who tells them and gives all the information about how this was handled, which over the years was confirmed and people started getting arrested. To this day, there are cafes, for example, in the United States, in Washington, there are cafes where the people who go to that cafe, and the intelligence agencies in the United States know this, but they don't do anything because they're observing. There are cafes in Washington where everyone there is an agent from foreign countries, mainly Russia. And they know it perfectly well, and they follow them. And so it's forbidden for intelligence agents to have meetings there, obviously from the United States, because everything that happens there will be known by others. Maybe you know something, but well, that's another topic, right? 3 ships attacked near the Strait of Hormuz, according to what is being confirmed now, are under attack by unknown projectiles. These apparently were not drones. And that's also starting to cause concern, because if, for example, they're talking about one that's already sinking and all that, it's going to cause environmental disasters in the area. Hopefully this doesn't spread to more attacks, because if it does, it's going to be a huge mess in the area. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stated that 3 British oil tankers and 1 American one were hit by missiles. At least, that's what they say. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations, which is from the United Kingdom and is the one that issues these kinds of warnings, confirms that multiple security incidents have indeed been reported in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations is advising that they simply transit with caution, and that's all. They are monitoring at least 150 oil tankers. They've had to drop anchor and have stayed there, well, stopped rather, not stranded, but paused to see how things are going. So, yes, there is some nervousness. Some are still moving, while others decide to stop completely. Look, this is what I wanted to show you, the images that are starting to appear on Iranian television. Yes, keep in mind these are the state channels, they're still hacked. No, here's another one, let's take a closer look. Imagine they're showing images of what's happening on the state channel, but it's no longer the state's version. In fact, it shows up there, look. Netanyahu shows up for them, for example, and they get messages with Trump. Yes, this is within what they call it, and there it says go and see. No, sorry. And RIB Television 3 high definition would be the one showing this. You can see a little bit there, it says soccer events, and they put Trump. We know that right now the Iranian state television channels are hacked. A topic that is also obviously, well, part of what's classic in these kinds of situations, right? Let's go to the latest reports. They're all about Iran, and we're taking it directly to this area. He hasn't forgiven the comments. According to the reports, at least 9 Israeli civilians, listen to this, 9 Israeli civilians have lost their lives after an Iranian attack. This was against a synagogue. They attacked a synagogue inside Israel, according to the reports. And there is also talk of multiple people injured. Pay attention to this, because obviously this has made the population nervous. The missile hit a synagogue. This happened directly against a civilian shelter in Beit Shemek, according to the reports. It's the deadliest strike so far in this ongoing conflict. What I just mentioned, yes, this would be the place that was attacked. Let's see if we can show it here on the screen. It would be this place. You can see it looks like an attack. The rooftop was full of people. Obviously, that's also why there are so many people dead and injured, and I'm sure the conflict report already shows 11 people have lost their lives in Israel. Yes, since the attacks have been happening, they are also reporting multiple injuries. It is estimated that Iran currently has 2,500 active ballistic missiles. The president, not the prime minister, the Iranian president. This army publicly thanked Trump and supported the offensive to eliminate the existential threat from the Ayatollahs. According to analysts, they warned that this could turn into a confrontation, the most dangerous in the Middle East, certainly in decades. And well, those are people who are supposed to be in places of refuge, obviously, but that's not perfect. That's not the kind of thing. Now, Netanyahu has just issued a new warning. Be careful. That's also part of what's happening. And the United Arab Emirates is also releasing a statement, and right now the European Union is also making its statement. So let's go. Let's go with that too. One more time. Israel announces that they will enter a new phase of bombings against Tehran as the crisis in that area grows. The Prime Minister announced that Israel will intensify attacks against Iran. This will start to be seen in the coming days, not right now, but in the coming days. The announcement was made by Kiryat from the Kiryat. Rather, it is the military complex in Tel Aviv where Operation Epic Fury, also known as Roaring Lion, was launched. The operation is a joint effort between Israel and the United States, although now all three are involved. Israel, the United States, Germany, and France, although in a more moderate way, but they are joining as well. According to Israeli authorities, at least 10 people lost their lives in Tel Aviv and in Beit Shemesh. Another person, so that's 11 people who lost their lives, aside from the injured. That's the Red Crescent, the Red Crescent. Rather, it reported in Iran 201 dead and 747 injured in 24 provinces after the bombings. See? According to reports, the most affected area was a province in Hormozgan, where 148 people are said to have lost their lives, according to the report. It's a topic that's still up in the air, because they believe there could be more people. Iran is responding to attacks on bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. It's just that the explosions, well, many of them haven't reached the bases, but have instead landed directly in civilian or even tourist areas. The United Arab Emirates also issued a statement. This is also part of what was expected from them. The government of the United Arab Emirates closed. They had an embassy in Iran. They already closed it. They withdrew all their diplomatic staff. After the bombing by the Iranians, which hit civilian areas in the United Arab Emirates, relations were broken off. The United Arab Emirates ordered the immediate closure of its embassy in Tehran and the complete withdrawal of its diplomatic mission. The bombings, according to the United Arab Emirates, have hit residential areas, airports, commercial ports, luxury hotels, and strategic facilities. So, it wasn't a mistake, right? I mean, it wasn't a small error, but it was clearly the intention to affect the United Arab Emirates. Or today, a missile landed in an area, but there weren't any more. No, you can see the intention there. Or airports, shopping centers, or let's say this... It says residential areas, airports, commercial ports, luxury hotels, strategic facilities. Obviously, this is all with the intention of attacking the United Arab Emirates. That's also what people are experiencing now. Another thing he says is, well, Callas is quiet, right? She is the spokesperson in charge of the European Union. As you think then, well, what is she saying? What is she commenting on, right? The European Union describes the death of the Supreme Leader as a decisive moment, warning that there is a risk of regional instability after the attacks. And the European Union officially acknowledges that, well, it recognizes that he did pass away, but also recognizes that this is a turning point in history. It's a bit ambiguous. The message is still at that point, says the head of European diplomacy. She stated that this is a decisive moment, making it clear that a new stage is not opening, but rather an uncertain stage is beginning, she says. According to the High Representative of the European Union, there is an open path toward a different Iran, suggesting therefore that a reform should take place, that a transition toward Iran should happen, which is Callas's suggestion. Now, what does she say? The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, assures that for her as well, at least for the European Union, Renaissance is a hope for the Iranian people. Von der Leyen warns that this moment also involves a real risk of destabilization, which could push the region into a spiral of violence. All of this message was before the message from the 13 from France, Germany, the United Kingdom. So I don't know if maybe von der Leyen's opinion is already different after this. Maybe, I don't know, we'll have to wait until later, right? And we'll get back to that part in a bit, but anyway. The European Union is committed, it says, to preserving stability, but it acknowledges that the situation is highly unpredictable and could redefine the balance of power in the region. I don't know, I thought they were going to give a more interesting message. Let's go to the comments. How have you been? Well, a big shout out to the community. Thank you so much to the community that makes that effort and supports us with a super chat, with a membership. All that support is essential for the channel, and I really appreciate that contribution, that support. Thank you very much. The truth is that it's really necessary for the channel to exist, and it's greatly appreciated. Well, that being said, a big shout out as well to those who are subscribed, to those who comment here every day, who have formed a huge family of people. We speak Spanish, but we're in many different countries and we're also of many different ages. And that's really cool. We can talk and chat about different topics. One day we talk about movies. Another day we talk about news and what's happening in the world, about discoveries or 1,000 other things. Pepe and Vivo is already asking for help, right? Give me a hand. No, well, obviously it wouldn't be possible to have all this information without both of them, right? And obviously also other collaborators who are gradually joining the community here. Thank you very much. Yes, no, impossible. I mean, if we're thinking about whether to join now or not, but you know what? There are going to be important things. Right now, things are happening tonight. In fact, I can already see that things are happening, but I also need to go eat. It's almost 5 in the afternoon. I think I have to go eat now, right? So let's see. I mean, we can stay here. It's fine. I can eat here with you, right? But yeah. Will there be a report tonight? Definitely. Or if it's a really, really big moment, then yes, of course there will be a report. And later we'll talk about it, we'll discuss it at length about the latest updates. Today we'll be looking at the situation. How could it not have allowed anything else? Let me see. And what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 say? Thank you so much, seriously. That's like 10 memberships. I'm not lying down when you see me. Thank you so much. Thank you to the whole community that, like Rublos, really supports us. We truly appreciate it. 10 memberships, well, for the community. So everyone who is part of the community is also part of the membership. Yes, it would be very interesting if we could have some kind of gathering, maybe a talk, some kind of get together. Several people have suggested it to me, and I think it would be really interesting to do it. So let's set a date. I don't know, these days, let's see which day works and we'll organize it. How have you been too, says Mana. About memberships, that's cool. Are they called Julio's series? Greetings, Julio. Very good, Draco. How have you been? Greetings to Adilson and congratulations to those who won a free membership from Roblox. No, thank you very much, says Pepe. He said, I'm going to eat, like my chair is here now, like it's already happening, like Brita is doing it, not this one, but since there's a coffee here, a good mouse. He says, he already had it. It's Cuba's turn in March, says Francisco. That's how it is. They're going to measure, I think, how this goes or how March ends. Maybe we should consider this more as something that occurred in March when we started walking, even though it really happened in February. No, the circle hasn't closed. Well, neither has the one in Venezuela. The situation in Venezuela hasn't closed either. Also, this one, it's still open, isn't it? Or is it over? No, well, that's how many of the things Trump gets involved in have been international ones already. Está a otro nivel, ¿verdad? O sea, está a otro nivel porque whether they're dying, well, whatever state they're in. The case of Venezuela, well, that's more the United States. I mean, it's more difficult. Not that they want to get away from it. I mean, with Venezuela, they can take it a little easier. And no, not much happens. But here, just imagine if suddenly the United States says, no, I'm going to take it easy. There's no problem anymore. Well, just imagine it would be more complicated, right? No, he can't go alone, but now it's harder. It's more complicated. And also, it would mean that they might become enemies with some other radical groups there, not just Israel. So I think they want to share the problem a little bit, so to speak, right? So, well, if you're daring, what are you going to eat today? Are you going to eat something special this weekend? He says. As a state, Orville, very good, and there are reasons to be optimistic and not mess around with doubts and indecisiveness, says Orville. Says Draco. Grilled meat in a cabin in Santiago. Recently, we were broadcasting from the National Highway, and I noticed it was quiet, maybe because the weather was cloudy and people stayed in. But well, the crowd is there, or maybe they're not there. It wasn't crowded, it really surprised me, there was little traffic. Very comfortable to be on the National Highway. You're in the mood right now, because there isn't much traffic so far. No, I put the man, he says yes, he does, no. He tells me it would be good for a trip to the cabins, carnitas, barbecue, but like to spend the night. I mean, not completely. I mean, yeah, it would be very interesting if it had internet to think about it, but it wouldn't be ideal. I already saw on the internet that there are some that apparently have good internet, and I ate rotisserie chicken. Really good. Little flag. Well, because of what we've done, today we're having burgers here. I mean, eating a delicious burger. In about half an hour, maybe 15 minutes, I think the burger will be ready. No, he says, you can tell he leaves the Black Hill. Rublo, he says the Black Hill because, well, I don't know. Greetings, Billy. How have you been? Brenda Garcia, greetings all the way to Lima, Peru. Enjoy your meal. What he's eating, I don't know if you've tried them there, if you've made them, well, as usual. You're watching how to eat deliciously, but not so that it's too greasy either. No, you have to measure things, the calories and all that, but it still has to taste good. And again, well, you went ahead and made some baked potatoes instead of fries. You put some things on them, right? I honestly don't know either way or what the magic is. But they taste 1,000 times better than fries, I mean, and it cuts down a lot. There, well, it's more for a craving, you know, not on the weekend, so you end up with those thicker potatoes, like wedges, as they call them. I don't know how, because they're not as thin as the classic ones from fast food restaurants. They're not fried and they're baked. You know, I don't know. I like them a lot more. They're really, really tasty, he says. Now let's talk about Donald Trump, who says, well, greetings, Fernando. Very good. Well, for the whole world at once, since you're already in the prayers. No, well, for the whole world at once. Wouldn't that be ideal? Big greetings. Thank you, Fernando Wilco. How have you been? Very good, Draco, he says. A hamburger with lettuce, with chipotle chicken. Man, that sounds pretty good to them, and I don't know what's up with me, but with a lot of lettuce. Without the lettuce, it just doesn't feel like a hamburger to me. This one. Thank you, Benedict. Same to you. Enjoy your meal, he says. I also made burgers with fries. Really good, but also French style, but in the oven. Wow, that's really good. They're delicious. Do you like those baked ones better? 7, can you share the recipe after the question? Yes. Let's see how it goes. Because they're really good, he says. The Lyceum with the fight, here they're called with the peel, here they're called cachelos, he says. So, if it comes with the peel, that's what you mean by that, says Claudio. Cheers, the Lyceum, says Claudio, he says. Observation. They're known as potato wedges. Exactly. Potato wedges are really tasty, especially with chicken, yes. Roast chicken, and there's a place. A while ago, when we were living in Santiago, we used to go there often, a chicken place called San Javier. For Draco and for those who live in Santiago, for those who live in Monterrey, drive on the highway, and when you're about to be on the left side of the dam, you'll see a sign on the right for chicken, San Javier. It's easy to spot. The sign is a restaurant, like yellow with orange. Chicken, San Javier, etc. It depends on your family's size and hunger level. Can you order chicken or ribs too? Yes. I love it when restaurants serve you well. I mean, that's why you go. And the skinny chicken is? No, it's actually pretty big chicken. And it also comes with things, rice, beans, tortillas, I mean everything, grilled onions. I mean, they put care into it, right? You leave satisfied, you know? Never, up until now, we've never left feeling like, oh man, today they missed the mark, you know? Never. I mean, maybe someone really picky might feel that way, but for us that's never happened, and we've always had a good experience. Well, we also buy from them. They have excellent ribs too. Really good. And they serve the ribs with beans. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap either. I'm not going to say it's super cheap, no, but it's not expensive either. I mean, it's what I think is the normal price, you know? I made potatoes with ground meat and they're really spicy, good for lunch and dinner. I'm going to make fajitas. Wow, enjoy your meal, Elisa. Enjoy. That sounds delicious. What could it be? Ground meat. Maybe it's something spicy, like some kind of, I don't know. Let's see if you can share the recipe with us. Hormone-filled chicken, says Maria Gonzalez, probably, right? With lots of hormones. No, they're just giant chickens. They're big, powerful chickens. I don't know, whatever the case is, but it's definitely not skinny, that's for sure. Paterita, how have you been? Benedito, big hug. Hope you're all well and having a great afternoon. We'll keep talking later, but for now, that's it. We've talked enough about food and hunger. It's tough. A hug. See you in a little while. We'll talk later.